Welcome to a tale of suspense and unease, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary and the familiar turns into a nightmare. Tonight, we delve into the eerie experiences that occurred within the walls of a seemingly innocent Walmart. These stories are personal, each one recounting a chilling encounter that left the narrator or their friends questioning reality. As you listen, let the suspense build, the tension mount, and the fear creep in. Because sometimes, even in the most mundane places, horror lurks just out of sight. It was a cold, rainy night in October, the kind of night that makes you want to stay in and curl up with a good book or a movie. But I was out of milk, and with no other plans, I decided to make a quick trip to the local Walmart. It was past 11 p.m., and the store was almost deserted. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long, eerie shadows across the aisles. The rain pounded on the roof, a constant reminder of the storm raging outside. I grabbed a cart and started my shopping, hoping to be in and out quickly. The store was oddly quiet. The usual background noise of chatter and beeping registers was absent. As I made my way down the dairy aisle, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced around, but the aisle was empty. Shrugging it off, I continued shopping, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each step. I stopped near the canned goods section and scanned the area. That's when I saw him. A tall, gaunt figure stood at the end of the aisle, his back to me. He was dressed in all black, a hood covering most of his face. Something about him didn't feel right. His posture was rigid, unnatural, like he was frozen in place. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to keep going. As I approached, he didn't move, didn't acknowledge me at all. Just stood there, staring at the shelves in front of him. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I passed him. I didn't dare look back. I tried to shake off the encounter, telling myself it was just some late-night shopper. But as I moved to the next aisle, there he was again, standing at the end in the exact same position. My heart skipped a beat. There was no way he could have moved that fast. A sense of dread washed over me. I turned my cart around, deciding to cut my shopping short, but as I made my way to the front of the store, I saw him again. This time, he was standing near the self-checkout, his head slightly turned in my direction. I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was watching me. I quickly made my way to a regular checkout lane, fumbling with my wallet, trying to pay as fast as I could. The cashier gave me a strange look, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of there. I rushed to the parking lot, the rain soaking me within seconds. I threw my bags into the car and jumped in, locking the doors behind me. My heart was pounding in my chest as I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot. As I drove away, I glanced in the rear-view mirror, half expecting to see the figure standing in the rain, watching me leave, but there was nothing there, just the empty parking lot, bathed in the glow of the store's lights. I never saw that figure again, and I still don't know who or what it was, but every time I drive by that Walmart, I get a chill down my spine, remembering that night. Sometimes the most ordinary places can hold the darkest secrets. This next story isn't mine, but a close friend of mine who swears it happened exactly as she tells it. Sarah is one of those people who always stays late at work, so it's not unusual for her to be running errands late at night. One evening, around midnight, she stopped by Walmart to pick up a few things before heading home. The store was practically empty, just a few employees stocking shelves, and the occasional late-night shopper like her. She quickly gathered what she needed and headed out to the parking lot. As she walked to her car, she noticed someone following her. At first, she thought it was just another shopper heading to their vehicle, but something felt off. The footsteps were too close, almost matching hers step for step. She quickened her pace, her heart beginning to race. She glanced back and saw a man, dressed in dark clothes, his face obscured by a baseball cap. He was about 30 feet behind her, but she could feel his eyes on her. Panic started to set in. The parking lot was dimly lit, the shadows long and menacing. She realized there were no other cars or people around, just her and this stranger. Sarah reached her car and fumbled with her keys, her hands trembling. The man was closer now, his footsteps growing louder, more deliberate. She could feel the adrenaline pumping through her veins as she finally managed to unlock her car. She yanked the door open and threw herself inside, slamming the door shut and locking it just as the man reached her. She didn't dare look up at him, but she could feel his presence right outside her window. She started the car, her hands shaking so badly that she almost dropped the keys. The engine roared to life, and without a second thought, she floored the gas pedal and sped out of the parking lot. As she drove away, she finally glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the man standing there watching her leave. But there was nothing. The parking lot was empty, just like when she had first walked out. Sarah didn't go back to that Walmart for months. The experience left her shaken, and to this day, she refuses to shop there alone at night. She never saw the man again. But the memory of those footsteps following her still haunts her, a constant reminder of how close she came to something terrifying. The last story is one from my childhood, a memory that has stuck with me all these years. I must have been around 8 years old, and it was a Saturday afternoon. My mom took me to Walmart to pick up some groceries. I loved going to the store with her because it meant I could wander the toy aisle while she shopped. That day, the store was busy with families and kids running around. I was in the toy section, eyeing a new action figure I desperately wanted, when something strange caught my eye. A little boy, no older than 6, was standing a few feet away from me. He was staring at a shopping cart that was parked in the middle of the aisle. The cart was empty, but he was focused on it like there was something in it that only he could see. I watched him for a moment, puzzled by his behavior. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, his eyes wide and unblinking. I felt a strange sensation, like something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Just then, his mother called out to him from the end of the aisle. The boy didn't respond. She called again, louder this time, but he remained motionless, his gaze locked on the empty cart. I was starting to feel uneasy, so I decided to go find my mom. As I turned to leave, something strange happened. The cart, which had been completely still, suddenly jerked forward, as if someone had pushed it. The boy's eyes followed it, his expression unchanged. But there was no one there. The cart moved on its own, slowly rolling down the aisle, the wheels squeaking eerily. I ran to find my mom, my heart pounding in my chest. When I told her what I had seen, she brushed it off as my imagination. But I knew what I saw. That cart moved on its own, and the boy, there was something not right about him. To this day, I still think about that moment. I've tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just a strange coincidence, but deep down, I know there was something more to it. Something that defies explanation. I never saw that boy again, and I never went back to that toy aisle. But every now and then, when I'm in a store and I see a shopping cart parked by itself, I can't help but feel a shiver run down my spine, wondering if it might just start moving on its own. And so, these are the stories that remind us that even in the most ordinary places, the extraordinary can happen. Whether it's a late-night encounter with a mysterious figure, the terror of being followed in a dark parking lot, or a childhood memory that defies explanation. These experiences linger in our minds, a reminder that sometimes the most unsettling things are the ones we can't quite understand. As you finish listening, take a moment to look around and remember you never know who or what might be watching.